Okay, so I've intended to make this video a couple weeks ago when somebody in the comment section had asked me, how do you actually play Pavlov on the ground without wrapping your body up and actually, pulling on the PlayStation and stuff? So I do actually worry about that happening, but I do have a few measures in place that I think will prevent it altogether. If you saw my last video, I actually put the controller into the wall. I'm so glad I released that first because this video is not telling you guys how you're going to prevent that from happening. Although a couple people again in the comments section had recommended either putting a curtain, which is awesome, to feel something as you're coming up and dampen the actual impact. Kind of like a physical boundary system so you don't hit the wall. And the other one is using a sound dampening system or soundproof where you have all the, panels on your wall. So awesome ideas, seriously, very cool. The only reason why I might not do that is because I originally planned to have green screen or blue screen or blue paint, green paint on my walls. And then I can take myself out of the actual environment and pace myself in the game. But now that I'm thinking about it, and I've been doing this for a while, I actually enjoy seeing the full room, and then you guys get to see me move around a bit. I don't know if that's awesome for anybody else, but again, I'm trying a few different things. We'll see. So long story short, the things that you can do to actually improve your experience, and many of you already know this, I get it, but many of you don't. When you're holding your controller, double tap your PlayStation button, the PS button, twice really quick. If you didn't have your headset on, this would not work. When your headset's on, double tap. This little quick settings comes up on the left-hand side of your screen. It gives you everything you need to do immediately. Instead of going through the settings in your home menu and then going to accessories, PlayStation VR, this brings you right to PlayStation VR2 immediately. You're going to see at the bottom of the screen here, you go and you can adjust your visibility, which I do recommend almost doing every time you go to set up and play. Whether you intend to or not, when you set the headset down, the dial doesn't have like a secure clicking system. So it does have kind of a soft feel on the dial, if you know what I mean, if you felt it before. Even that subtle amount, that subtle adjustment will affect your experience. So I just recommend double checking that, and that takes a second, as you can see. Instead of looking at your eyes on the screen, stare straight, because then you're going to use your peripheral to actually fine tune that setting. You'll see what I'm talking about. It just adjusts it like a millimeter, and this is fine tuning, but really it does affect it. So in this boundary system here, when you've gone through your quick settings, originally I think the default is medium. And I went to like low because I didn't want the boundary to pop up every time I'm walking around the room. Well, now I do, absolutely, especially after having my controller go into the wall. When I have it on high, it gives me about a foot away from the wall. So I pretty much this whole time have been playing completely comfortable and carefree up until I hit my wall. Last video you'll see. But it had to do with me extending way too far. In the heat of the moment, I went to go stab a guy because, he was like right in front of me and I wasn't thinking. But I have to try and train myself, otherwise I do have to have some sort of protection on the wall for next time, because that could happen to my two arcades over there, and oh my god. So when it specifically comes to Pavlov, I do feel very comfortable not smashing into the wall, more often than not, because when you're holding your guns, whatever you're doing, your hands are out in front of you like this. So you're not like swinging your arms or trying to stab people typically. But yeah, you'd be able to tell when the boundary, pops up when you're coming close to the wall like this. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I know I'm going to play other games, but when it comes to Beat Saber, anything where I'm swinging my arms around violently, no way am I going to be walking around my room. That's just asking for disaster. But yes, so far, I'm totally impressed with being able to lay down on this cable and not feel like it's pulling my body by. So I do want to show you real quick how I go to actually lay down. So as you can see here, I'm standing there and then I slowly put one knee down and I'm using my legs to extend them backwards. That way I know if I'm about to hit the wall or not. That said, when you have it on high, the reason why it might not detect you is because if your helmet's leaning forward and you're leaning this way and your back is going to the wall, it's not detecting your back, it is detecting your helmet and your controllers. So it comes up when that happens. Near the bottom in the other section, as you see on screen here, there's a tracking calibration thing where you can click that switch on, and what it does is it gives you a border around your television. So most of you guys do have your VR set up in front of your TV where your PlayStation is, it makes sense. And then that way it actually gives you better tracking. So I do have it on, I'm not facing my TV, but I just had it on the off chance that it helps with tracking. Again, I can't say that it does or doesn't, not too sure, but I wanted to make sure I had the best possible setting. Other than that, when you go to show your friends and family, turn that shit off because they're going to see this giant blue ugly border around the screen and not feel as immersed just watching a regular video game, right? Next, we're going to look at what I use for the PlayStation VR1 for 6 to 7 years. I have a yoga knee pad. So I would never think to get this. I was just using what my wife had around in her little yoga station. And I saw this, as you can see on screen here, this little flower thing or four petal thing. And it has this little scoop in the middle, which was perfect. And then I wouldn't remove my body and I could pivot at all times. So I felt secure with that setup and not hitting anything at all. Whereas with PSVR2, I do want the ability to get on the ground, move, but not have something like that on my chest. The other knee pad I'm showing you guys right here is that it's just an oval version, that it is thicker and it has a bit of better grip, if that makes sense, because it has more texture. But I don't like it as much because it is thicker. It feels like my heel's sticking upright. I highly recommend if you guys need one. Absolutely. I think it's 20 bucks on Amazon. You can get it, all multiple colors and stuff, maybe cheaper, not too sure. The other major thing I do want to share with you guys is that I discovered you can actually get extension cables, it makes sense, for USB-C. And I bought a 3-footer on purpose. I would want to go longer, but somewhere, I can't remember, I wish I had the source, was saying that if you go longer than 3, 4, 5 feet, it actually gives you tracking issues. And I don't know why. Maybe it's a power supply thing, I have no clue. But yeah, so I was freaked out and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to stick to the 3-footer. And the reason why that does work for me, I'm showing you right now, my PlayStation is a few feet off the ground sitting on a stand. So yeah, I didn't like the idea of having my PlayStation cord actually extend, and right at my bare room size requirements, it wouldn't actually tug on the wire, but I would feel a tension, like it's just starting to do that. So had I been wrapping my body around and on the ground, for sure there's a way that thing would shorten the cable and then tug it later. So I was freaked out. In my research, I didn't want to spend a lot of money. That said, there are magnetic versions you can get, so they actually do pull away. So if you are worried about your console coming off, you can spend an extra few bucks, and that would be another security you can have where you're not worried about your PlayStation falling on the ground. But as you can see on the screen here, it's totally worth it. I have it literally touching the ground. It's just resting, and therefore the cable is never being pulled away. Even when I extend my whole body to the end of the room, that extra 3 feet, which seems silly because it's like this. You're like, it doesn't make a difference. Absolutely does in my room. Again, at the bare room size requirement. And I think I paid 20 bucks on Amazon.ca. The other cool thing I came across, and I didn't intend to use them at all, are the LED lights. If you see me play in the very beginning, just a few months ago when I started the channel, I had some lamps going on in the background and some other light bulbs going. I didn't have the LED strips on the bottom the way I do now. What's funny is I read online again, people are like, oh yeah, I use LEDs, and I saw YouTubers using it, and I'm like, how are they not having tracking issues? Because to me, in my eyes, when I'm looking at the LED strips, you're seeing these bright little bulbs. I was anticipating this whole like tracking issue as I'm looking down at them, and I tested it out and no tracking issue whatsoever. And I mean, I cranked them up and I'm like, what the hell, that's so weird. I mean, I'm used to pointing at a light bulb, one of my lights, and it always going wonky. I mean, always. The company that I've been only getting them from is called Govee, Govee. They're on Amazon.ca again, and they offer more than just the strips. They give you these bars and stuff too. But I'm speaking from experience. I do recommend them. They are the cheapest, best LED strips you can get on the market. So I bought these in 2019, and I mean, these are cranked. My LED strips on the floor are a little brighter. I want to say twice as bright, but I have not turned these guys off behind me at all. 24/7 for 4 years now, yeah. So that's impressive. I mean, those guys, I want to say the LED strips are 35 bucks for a 16-footer. They've been working really good for me, and I might actually end up doing more LED strips along the top of my ceiling. I will actually over time. I just got to get it all set up. The other thing I recommend is getting this red cable. It's for your headphones, your Sony Pulse 3D. It's not made for Sony Pulse 3D. You can use them for many headphones, but on Amazon, you spend 10 bucks and you get a pair of these. They're just like 8 inches long. What's ideal is that they just connect right at the cup of the ear and then perfectly go into your PlayStation VR2. And there's no giant hoop. You don't have to worry about this thing dangling, even just a little bit. Like a lot of the short ones will still have it around your shoulder catch. And if you were to swing, that'd be a problem. You will not have this thing catch because it's just too short. I think this works for now. We'll see in time. Whatever I come across or whatever somebody recommends too that I find or have tried, I will recommend. Things that I haven't tried, I can't recommend just because somebody else has. When it comes to the cable, I can recommend this one, the Ugreen 3-footer, and I have not had any tracking issues or any problems or any distance problems. So I hope this helped you guys the way that it helped me, fine-tuning your PSVR2 experience, everything from the cable extension to the lights, to the headphone cable, to the yoga knee pad. It's all come together to make this experience just a little bit better. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comments section. I'm all about learning, and everyone else too. Let me know your experience, whether you liked or disliked this stuff, and we can all, just get better from it.